So Piers Morgan on his show confronts an Israeli minister who called him an anti-Semite. Piers challenges him, basically saying, how am I an anti-Semite for criticizing Israel? But also for a second reason, and this is a key thing. He says that this Israeli minister's accusation of anti-Semitism fueled the sentiment of accusations against Piers and sent thousands of people online calling Piers a Jew hater and an anti-Semite. And this is the part that I'm like, Because you see, as somebody who is constantly called an anti-Semite and a Jew hater and all of the other words, because I speak out against Israel, I speak out against Zionism, I speak out against Zionists, it totally resonates with me when he says, how can I be an anti-Semite for criticizing Israel? Because that's right. How are you an anti-Semite for doing that? That's not anti-Semitism. But I won't lie. Listening to this conversation, because the basis upon which Piers is basically saying, all these people came out at me because of what you said.
The shocking allegation
Kind of made me go, oh, well, Piers, that's kind of what you've done to many people, especially people like Meghan Markle, and you've done that to me. You sent thousands of people our way, calling us the words that you describe us as. But listen in.
I'm just curious why me criticising your government for things like that and for what people like Smodrich are saying constitutes anti-Semitism.
No. So let me be very accurate. As I mentioned before, I never said that you are anti-Semitic.
Yeah, you did.
I did say
you did. You
that
implied
you
it,
were.
and I was immediately bombarded on X and other social media platforms. I can tell you, thousands of people calling me anti-Semitic and a Jew hater because you decided to fuel that sentiment. Well, you did.
Fuel that sentiment.
Whether you are or you're not, that's
I mean, whether I am. When have I ever been anti-Semitic?
But fueling the sentiment and sending thousands against others is one of the things Piers Morgan does best. Because how many slurs has he used against Meghan Markle? He literally aggravates the sexism, the racism, the misogyny, and bigotry against her. The first time I got called a race baiter was by Piers Morgan on national television on Good Morning Britain. I never heard the word before. But the moment that clip landed on social media in January 2020, thousands of people started calling me a race baiter, even though all I was doing was speaking out against white supremacy and standing up against institutional and systemic racism. Just as he says all he's doing is criticizing Israel. He not only fuels the sentiment, he shapes the narrative. Do you see the double standards and hypocrisy?
What's up, beautiful people? Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening from wherever you're tuning in from. This is Daily Diaries Friday, the channel where every story sparks inspiration and every moment is a vibe. If you're here for the ride, please subscribe, smash the like button, and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Share this with your favorite people, and let's create a community full of excitement and good energy. Got something to say? Drop it in the comments. Let's get into it. In the pantheon of British media figures whose names provoke visceral reactions, Piers Morgan occupies a particularly polarising space. Over the years, he has carved out a reputation as a combative broadcaster, a self-styled defender of free speech, and most notably one of the most vocal critics of Meghan Sussex. His sustained campaign of commentary against the Duchess of Sussex has not only drawn ire from many corners of society, but has also become a revealing case study in media bias, misogyny, and racialised scrutiny. When Dr. Shola recently called out Piers Morgan for his hypocrisy, defending himself against allegations of anti-Semitism while continuing to attack Meghan with impunity, her words struck a nerve. She tweeted, "Piers Morgan fuels sentiment against Meghan Markle, but doesn't like it when it's done to him. Yes, he's right to confront Israeli minister accusing him of anti-Semitism for criticising Israel. But when he says you fuel sentiment against me, I have to point out the hypocrisy. Let's unpack what's really going on here. A veteran broadcaster who has used his platform to continually discredit a biracial woman who dared to enter the British royal family and speak up for herself, suddenly finding himself on the receiving end of a similarly sweeping and unfair label, and recoiling in protest. Piers Morgan's disdain for Meghan has been well documented, and for many inexplicable in its intensity. What started as a seemingly personal grievance quickly spiraled into a vendetta that he has carried out relentlessly on television, in his newspaper columns, and across social media. From questioning the legitimacy of her mental health struggles to outright accusing her of lying during the Oprah Winfrey interview, Morgan has painted Meghan as manipulative, attention-seeking and dishonest. Rarely, if ever, does he extend the same level of criticism toward Prince Harry or other royal family members, revealing the gendered and racialized nature of his scrutiny. While criticism of public figures is fair game, the obsessive personal tone of Morgan's attacks suggests something deeper. Meghan, as a biracial, American, self-assured woman, disrupts the traditional image of British royalty. Her very presence challenged long-standing norms, and her willingness to speak out against institutional racism and tabloid abuse was seen by Morgan and others as an affront to the established order. Morgan's criticism is far from isolated. It fits into a broader pattern of UK tabloid and broadcast media relentlessly targeting Duchess Meghan. Stories ranging from her avocado consumption to her choice of nail polish were framed as sinister or inappropriate, while similar behaviour by other royals, most notably Kate Middleton, was celebrated or, just ignored. This double standard has been well documented by media analysts and scholars. The racism and misogyny baked into much of the coverage of Meghan are, frankly, impossible to ignore. Morgan may deny that his campaign against her is motivated by anything other than journalistic critique, but the sheer volume, tone and consistency of his attacks tell another story. This is not objective reporting, it is harassment cloaked in the language of opinion journalism. Enter Dr. Shola, one of Meghan's most vocal defenders and honestly a fierce critic of the institutional and media-based racism that fuels attacks against her. A British lawyer, activist and political commentator, Dr. Shola has routinely challenged the British media's treatment of Meghan, calling out hypocrisy, racism and sexism with clarity and conviction. Her advocacy is particularly powerful because it refuses to accept the framing often perpetuated by traditional media. Instead of asking whether Meghan is too sensitive or breaking royal tradition, Dr. Schola flips the narrative. What does it say about British society that a woman of colour is so violently rejected for simply asserting her dignity? In interviews, articles and social media commentary, Dr. Shola has championed Meghan's right to self-expression, to emotional honesty and to protection from abuse. Rights that, she argues, are denied to women of colour in elite spaces. Her support of Meghan is not based on fandom, but on principle. The recent incident involving Piers Morgan and an Israeli minister is, well, a powerful example of selective empathy. During a heated exchange on his show, Morgan was accused of anti-Semitism for criticising Israeli actions in Gaza, a charge he vehemently denied. He called it outrageous, defamatory and irresponsible, and he was right to do so. Blanket accusations of anti-Semitism or racism or any form of bigotry should never be weaponized to silence legitimate criticism of state action or policy. But what was revealing is how quickly Morgan positioned himself as a victim, lamenting that such accusations fuel harmful public sentiment against him. Dr. Shola's point was clear. How can Piers Morgan, who has for years fueled sentiment against Meghan M., often using inflammatory language and questioning her integrity, fail to see the parallel? If it's unfair for him to be painted with a broad, false brush, why has he made a career out of doing exactly that to Meghan? Morgan's inability, or, refusal, to recognise this hypocrisy reflects a broader issue within media circles, a lack of accountability. When women of colour speak out about their treatment, they are dismissed, demonised or gaslit. But when powerful men face criticism, they demand nuance, empathy and fairness. Dr. Shola's commentary is more than just a clapback. It's a call to re-evaluate the way media figures wield power. Piers Morgan is not being cancelled or silenced. He continues to host high-profile shows, write columns and engage millions on social media, but he is being asked, rightfully, to confront the implications of his words and the double standards he perpetuates. Meghan, despite stepping back from royal duties, remains a cultural lightning rod precisely because her presence forced Britain to confront uncomfortable truths about race, gender, and power. Figures like Dr. Shola ensure that those conversations don't get swept under the rug. The next time Piers Morgan claims to be a victim of unfair scrutiny, perhaps he'll remember the Duchess of Sussex, the woman he tried to destroy in the court of public opinion, who endured years of media hostility without ever demanding the empathy he so desperately seeks for himself. So the question remains, if Piers Morgan can so clearly recognise when he's been unfairly targeted, why can't he extend that same recognition and basic humanity to Meghan? And that's a wrap, squaddies. Thanks for watching and being part of this amazing journey. You're the reason this community shines. Keep being the incredible, inspiring souls you are. If you enjoyed today's journey, show some love with a like, comment and share. Join our family by subscribing, and let's keep growing together. Until next time, dream big, stay strong and keep shining.